You're listening to The Dr. Chris Show. Are you tired of the short-term patch to your health problems? Is avoiding medications and surgeries important to you? If you answered yes, then your prayers have been answered. Dr. Chris has been helping people transform their health for over a decade. He's a world-renowned health expert who specializes in holistic health. He's a professional speaker, chiropractor, and international best-selling author. It's his mission to help you reach your full God-given potential through holistic health and healing. Get ready to be inspired and transformed. Here's your host, Dr. Chris.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another show where disease takes a dive and people come to thrive. And today we've got the privilege to have Dr. Cotey on today. Now, Dr. Cotey, he is very versed in a lot of different areas, especially the fact that not only is he a doctor that's been helping people for over 11 years now, but he's also in the military. He's an Air Force, member of the Air Force. So he's helped our country in many ways. So we appreciate him for his service and all the ways he helps people. But he is an expert when it comes to migraines and helping people overcome all things related to that. Because as you know, that can affect people's lives in numerous ways. And so he's been featured on different television programs, different networks, just sharing his knowledge about this very, very serious topic. So Dr. Cotey, great to have you on today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, Dr. Chris. Appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to sharing my story.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of that, let's get right into your story and really what brought you where you are today. I mean, maybe some of the struggles you've been through, your life journey, because you haven't always been a doctor either, and you've had some career changes and why that was. So yeah, man, just lay it on us.
Yeah, so straight out of high school, man, I joined the Air Force, and there was really no other reason other than nobody's done it in my family, and I really had no idea how I was going to pay for college. So basically, I joined for all the wrong reasons. 19 years later, here I am. I'm still in it for all the right reasons. But yeah, lo and behold, it was the Air Force that actually introduced me to chiropractic. How that worked is 2005, I was getting ready to deploy to Iraq for a year, and there was 79 of us. And we were training, just doing our typical training, and my migraines, they were pretty freaking bad at that point. I suffered from the age of 10 all the way up until that point, which is 21. And they were debilitating, so bad that I couldn't keep up with the training. And it became very obvious to a lot of my superiors. And ultimately, that's when really it was my boss's boss who approached me and said, hey, I want you to go to my doctor for your condition. So lo and behold, that was a chiropractor.
And so then what happened from there? What transitioned from there?
Honestly, when I was approached by this guy and I was sent to his office, I thought I was in trouble. I thought they were sending me home. I figured, I was useless to them. And it was fascinating. This guy, this high-ranking official in the United States Air Force reaches out to little old me, and all I could think about was I'm doomed. And when he originally said, I want you to go to my doctor, I kind of laughed out loud at him and said, hey, sir, with all due respect, you don't understand. I've been to every freaking doctor, every specialist, every expert. I've taken all the medications. I even got the injections. Nothing's working. So I don't know who this doctor is that you suggest I go to, but there's really no rhyme or reason to go to it. So what's neat about this, it actually is a really neat story, is not only did he insist that I go to his doctor, he literally drove me to his doctor that day. And lo and behold, that was a corrective care chiropractor. And at the age of 21, I didn't even know what chiropractic was.
Mm-hmm. So you literally get driven there by this superior of yours, not knowing what to expect, having tried everything, injections, medications, you name it. And then you go there and this guy just starts to transform your life. And so now how did that transform you? And then how did that lead you into becoming a chiropractor?
Well, like I said, I'm walking into this doctor's office, and completely different experience from anything I've ever been to. You're walking into this place and, people are excited to be there. It wasn't like any other doctor's office I've been to before. And what really threw me for a loop is this doctor, he actually took the time to talk to me, not just about, hey, you got headaches, that sucks. More so, he was asking, how is that affecting your quality of life? And as an athlete, it stinks, man. And, someone training for the military, someone who's on edge here wondering, am I getting sent home? They were debilitating to the point where I just could not function, whether it was physical activity, whether it was mental. So for this guy to take the time to really understand that, and then he took it even a step further, and when he examined me and we were talking about it, again, Dr. Chris, I had no idea what chiropractic was, so I literally was starting from the ground up. So for this guy to take the time and really understand how the body works, it just made sense. And he went well beyond just my migraines, to the point where I had other issues. That just happened to be the one that was debilitating.
That's awesome. Just transformed you. So now here you are. How many years later has it been since that experience?
I'm 37 years old. So it's been over 16 years since I was introduced to chiropractic.
Over 16 years ago. And now you've really niched into this area of helping people with migraines and headaches, and really being the migraine expert in your area, probably one of the leading experts in the country. And so when you look at this now, what are some areas of people's lives you're seeing people be affected by migraines, and why is this really happening? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand, right? They're like, I don't know. I've always dealt with these. Might be my grandmother, my mother had them. Is this something of my genetics? Can you explain that to our listeners a little bit more?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, but
Absolutely.
Definitely get me back on point if I fall too far off. I suffered from the age of 10 up until 21 when I was introduced to that chiropractor. And man, I remember the ER visits like they were freaking yesterday. 2 a.m, my mom and I rushed into the ER because I just literally feel like my head's going to explode. And it got to the point where it's just so painful. You can't stand any noise. You can't stand any light. And basically, you cry yourself to sleep just hoping you wake up and all that pain's gone. So, routinely we would end up at the ER. They'd give us a handful of pills. And, that's all they could do. So imagine, a teenager feeling so helpless, so hopeless that there's just, what am I to do? I felt broken. I felt weak. I felt different from all the other kids. So fast forward, when I was introduced to chiropractic, started getting adjusted, I was almost in awe because the frequency, the intensity just kept going down. And I'm wondering, like, is this all in my head? Is this really happening? And it got to the point, man, I'm 37 years old. I have not had a migraine for over 15 years. Awesome. That's how life-changing this was. So I had to dive deeper. I had to understand this. I had to know this. Lo and behold, I did. I did a career change, like you mentioned, and I went back to chiropractic school. But to answer your question, what I've realized, for the last 10 years, we've been seeing some of the worst case migraines. And the sad part is they all have the same story. They've all been to the doctors. They all been to the experts. They all been to the specialists. They all been to the neurologists. They got the MRIs. They got the CTs. They got the x-rays. And they're never given a good answer. They're just given more medications and more medications. When they don't work, they give them more medications. And when that doesn't work, they give them the injection that gives them temporary relief at best. So what I've discovered, and this is more to your point here, what I've discovered is that there's only 2 causes of migraines. And when I tell my patients that, they're just dumbfounded because, we're in a very reactive healthcare system. And Dr. Chris, you know that.
Yep.
But we're in a very reactive healthcare system where they're chasing symptoms. And as long as you chase symptoms, you'll never get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It reminds me of the story of my own wife. She suffered with migraines for years before I met her so badly. You probably experienced this too when you were going through it, where she'd have to close herself off in a dark room. She was calling in, sick from work, and it was literally just destroying her life. And it wasn't until we found the cause, right? Because she had gone through all the medications. She hadn't subjected herself yet to the injections, thank God. But man, just everything that changed when she started to get to the cause, and we started to figure out where the interference was in her nervous system, right? And that's where really that lies. So what are those 2 When you say there's there's two causes, what are those? Can you go into those a little more depth?
Yeah, absolutely. So you either have a neurological deficiency, and that's what we as chiropractors, that's what we specialize in. If we can find subluxations, we can correct them and stabilize them. Your body's going to function the way it's supposed to. And if we can rule out a neurological deficiency, then more than likely what it is, it's a chemical imbalance in the body. And most chiropractors can help with that. I'm not suggesting we're experts with it, but usually it comes down to lifestyle and what you're putting into your body.
Mm-hmm.
So what's neat about what we do with the migraine challenge is we either confirm, yes, you do in fact have a neurological deficiency, or we can rule that out. They can stop chasing symptoms and we can point them in the right direction.
That's awesome. So when you look at neurologically, what usually causes that? Like, what would create that interference in someone's body, especially maybe someone like yourself who was a young kid? Maybe you hadn't been in an accident. Maybe you had. Like, what does that even look like?
Yeah, so this is fascinating. Every single patient who we've been able to accept into our office and give care to and get life-changing results, they have one of two findings on x-rays. And this is the kind of stuff that chiropractors need to know, because the reality is there's not a chiropractor out there who has not helped a headache sufferer or a migraine sufferer. But what's really neat is the two findings that we find. I mean, a very common one is not only is they lost that curve on the neck, but it actually collapses and reverses. And Dr. Chris, I know you know this, but for the general public, what's happening there is you're stretching that spinal cord. You're putting tension on it. It's getting thinner. It's getting weaker. The energy from the brain can't get through the spinal cord. And if it can't get through the spinal cord, well, it certainly is not getting out the nervous system to the glands. And when it comes to migraines, usually it's a neck issue. And the other finding that we find, really, this isn't chronic migraine sufferers. I'm talking about people who've been suffering for 30, 40 plus years, getting them multiple times a week, is they usually have a full compression at the base of their skull, that occiput bone there with their C1 atlas. I mean, there's absolutely zero space there, and the thing is just fully compressed. So again, for the general public, neurologically what that means is you're literally choking the spinal cord right at the base of the brainstem there.
I think even whether you're a doctor or not, that sounds painful, right? Like no other way to describe that for sure. Like, makes sense. Pressure on nerves. So how would that process look like then to start to correct the neurological component of that?
Well, in my world, and I'm not one to argue techniques when it comes to chiropractic. I'm pretty open-minded. I believe that they all work, and that's why they're there. But if I was to go in a little more detail, I do believe there's some techniques that are more specific than others. Mm-hmm. So I believe that specificity is huge. Rather than giving gross manipulations, I think specific corrective care adjustments is really what allows for us to get changes where a lot of systems, they can't get the changes.
Right. Absolutely. So it's just very specific adjustments. Anything else you're doing to help retrain that nervous system, retrain that loss of curve, things like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing is we do a form of corrective care. And yes, on top of good specific chiropractic adjustments, we also do what I would call spinal hygiene. Mm-hmm. And really it's pretty basic exercises. And really what you're trying to do is you're structurally changing your spine and affecting the nervous system. You got to get the soft tissues on board. If you don't get the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments on board, none of that will ever stabilize.
That's huge, right? It's a lot of times people think that, hey, it's just this one thing I need to do. And really it's an evolved process, right? There's different aspects we have to look at in any area of our life too. So that's number one. Like, we got to get that foundation strong, get that nervous system retrained, get pressure off nerves, allow the body to start to understand where it's supposed to be in space, holding that posture, holding those adjustments. So that's the foundation. But then you said there also could be that other chemical component. So what are some things that you look at for people's lifestyle that are some of the major offenders that are going to promote dis-ease leading towards migraines?
Yeah, so, I'll counter that with people of all ages get migraines. Hence, I was 10 years old. So it's pretty obvious when someone's sitting in front of you. You can kind of tell already. but a lot of it's just lifestyle. So, I mean, it's been proven that 80% of Americans, they have a sensitivity, not necessarily an allergy, but a sensitivity to either sugar, wheat, or dairy. I mean, that right there, that is the American diet. And
Yeah.
we just gorge ourselves on top of all the processed foods and the GMOs. I mean, it's next to impossible to eat clean here in America. So if that's the case, what I've noticed has gotten really good results. And a lot of these folks who get migraines, like they can get rid of them completely in 3 or so months just by changing their lifestyle. Yeah, you want to be more active, but usually it's that chemical portion of it. If you can eliminate the sugar, wheat, and dairy and then slowly reintroduce it, you're going to learn really quick which of the three, possibly even more, that you're sensitive to. And if you can begin to even just minimize, you don't even necessarily have to eliminate it totally, but if you can just minimize whichever the three it is, man, your body is going to get rid of so much inflammation. You're just going to function at a much higher level.
That's awesome. So the 3 simple things: elimination diet, wheat, dairy. What was the other one you said?
Sugar.
Sugar. That's right. Sugar is major offenders. So those are easy things that we can do like right now just to start to see, hey, is it really a chemical issue? And then are there any maybe deficiencies that people are experiencing that are also creating these migraines? Maybe not just the deficiency of the nervous system, but is there other nutritional factors and things that people can look out for that they might not even be aware of? I know everyone wants like the next supplement and the magic berry from the rainforest, but like, I mean, there's some simple things we can do that we can look out for.
Yeah, that's a good one. So here's the thing. You could sit there and say, hey, you're lacking this, you're lacking that. And by no means, am I a functional nutritionist and trying to play expert here. Mm-hmm. I believe that's chasing symptoms. Because yes, we could all be putting a little something better into our body. But what I've noticed is a lot of people, they're taking the vitamins, the minerals, and even the supplements. And unfortunately, supplements are just that. They should supplement a good quality diet. So I always start with, like you called it, the elimination diet, because if you're going to continue to put crap into your body, you're going to get crap output. But you don't get to just act like you're not doing it just because, hey, I take this special vitamin or this supplement and that's just going to make me healthy. Mm-hmm. So again, yeah, if you do a good analysis of that, there's definitely experts out there who can pinpoint what you're deficient in. The problem is, I believe that most Americans, they want that quick, easy fix. They want fix yesterday. And it's not going to work that way. You don't get migraines overnight, and you're not going to simply remove them just because of one thing that you do. So I don't know if that helps you or not, but that's just the experience I've had with patients in my office.
Yeah, what you're saying is don't just keep chasing symptoms. We can chase symptoms with medications, but we can also chase them with supplements too.
Yeah.
It's getting down to the basics, getting down to the root cause, looking at the nervous system, making sure you're putting the right foods in from the beginning, making sure you're not putting the right foods or the wrong foods in that are going to create more stress in your body. Start there. And what you're saying, maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what you're saying is you start with those things, probably 80 to 90% of people are going to have those things disappear.
Yeah, you're going to notice a significant difference. And then that would be the time where there's always a next level.
Yeah.
I mean, even the best of the best Olympic athletes, there's always a next level. You can always function at a higher level. The general public, if we can just get them functioning to the best of their ability, they're going to be completely different people.
That's awesome. No, so clear. What are some examples that you maybe have, like some patient testimonials that you can think of, or some stories where maybe they thought they didn't have hope? You talked about yourself, obviously, tried a lot of things, no success. Finally started to do some things, but now since you've been doing like these migraine challenges in your community, what are some stories that you've seen that have really just like popped out to you the most?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just start with the obvious one. So we call it a migraine challenge. It's actually kind of silly if you just think about it, but because it's a challenge, there has to be a winner. So last year's winner, 2019, Nancy, she suffered from migraines for over 35 years, and she was getting them anywhere from 3 to 5 times per week. And same thing that we talked about earlier. She's been through the ringer. She tried everything. And, when people start getting under care and they go a week without a migraine, they're kind of like suspicious about it. The next thing you know, they go 10 days. I mean, they get emotional about this stuff Because what happens with migraine sufferers is A, they tend to do this with their spouse a lot. And it's really twofold. The spouse will never understand what they're going through. And then on the flip side, the migraine sufferer is usually pretty short with their spouse when they're flared up.
Yeah.
And then number two, if there's kids involved, the kids, they just don't have the parents that they know they deserve. And then I've seen migraines ruin a lot of professional lives. And Nancy's a perfectly good example. She has kids, she's married, she runs her own business, and her entire quality of life was being affected by these.
Yeah.
So for her, the longer she kept going, she was just in disbelief about it. And next thing you know, she got her life back. And she went to her daughter's wedding, and that was a very emotional time because she just literally was waiting for that next flare-up. And when it never came, that's life-changing stuff right there. And then on top of that, you throw in the fact that she's a business owner. Anybody who runs a small business or anyone who's a top exec or CEO in a company, massive stress on a daily basis. So to be able to function at a higher level and handle that stress without flaring up, again, that's life-changing.
That's awesome, because it's all about changing your quality of life and living to your fullest potential. It's not about like, hey, I'm out of this pain, because we all know pain comes and goes throughout our life, right? I walk out of bed this morning, stub our toe on the door, we're going to be in pain. Like, pain happens, but it's the difference between having that quality of life and function. And pain helps us grow. Pain helps us get, emotionally growth, physically growth, all these things that can help us grow as a person, as an individual. But yeah, it's when it starts to affect the people that we love most in our life. Not being able to be the mom she wanted to be, that had to probably hurt her more than anything.
Exactly.
I imagine, for sure. So that's awesome. Now, what are some ways that people could reach out to you? Like if they have maybe more questions, they want to do you have like any resources that could help them just kind of guide themselves through some of these things? Maybe they're able to do your challenge. Like what would that look like? How would they even be able to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we currently do the Pittsburgh Migraine Challenge. Obviously, I'm located north of Pittsburgh. We've had such success with that we actually opened up a Detroit Migraine Challenge. We have a Philadelphia Migraine Challenge, and we have a North Texas Migraine Challenge, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And, if you're talking to the general public, they're more than welcome to get on our websites or our Facebook page. You can get some really good information. Obviously, it's not practical. If they're not local, they're not going to be able to get care here.
Sure.
However, if they can seek out a good specific chiropractor, and Dr. Chris, you know this as well as I do, that's not always easy.
Absolutely.
That's why, honestly, if I'm talking to the chiropractor, the Migraine Challenge is going to be something special. It's going to start popping up all over the country, and we're going to help a boatload of people out. And until we do that, honestly, really what I do is when people reach out to me, they can get on pghmigraine.com. That's our local Pittsburgh challenge website. So if a viewer wants to get on pghmigraine.com, they can kind of read more information and gather up really what's going on with that. Typically, when people reach out to me over the country, I'm doing my darndest just in my network to find a good, specific chiropractor. Because like I said, there's not a chiropractor out there that hasn't helped people with migraines. The difference is I'm not in the business of giving temporary relief. If I give a migraine sufferer 2 weeks without a migraine, they'll think I'm great. But if 2 weeks later, they're right back to where they were, we just wasted their time, their energy, and their money. And that's why the Migraine Challenge is so effective, because I'm not into getting temporary relief. I actually want to correct the problem. I want them to have the results that I had. I want them to go the next 15 plus years and have their quality of life and function to the best of their ability.
Well, it's huge because, like you said, no two chiropractors are created equal, and there's really a difference between there's ones that are going to be more corrective care and get the long lasting changes, and there are ones that are going to be more pain relief. And so, I think the most disservice someone could do to themselves or maybe a loved one is say, hey, I've been to a chiropractor before for my migraines or my headaches. It didn't work. I went a handful of times. I went for 3 times a week for a little bit. Didn't work. It's not going to work for me. When more than likely they probably didn't get someone like yourself or like myself that does that specific type of care to really make the lasting changes. And I think that's the biggest disservice to anybody, is just assuming that all doctors are created equal, right? And so for you, so I'm going to put those things on the show notes so that you listeners can, get at more access to those. If you're in some of these areas and listening, great. Maybe you can't see Dr. Cotey specifically, but maybe you can see one of the doctors that he's helped get, identify and help work with and train so they can get the same results too. But Doc, just to start to wrap some things up here, what do you feel is really reaching your fullest potential? Like, what does that look like to you in your life for your patients or for your family?
Yeah, so we have a very family-oriented practice, and it all comes down to, our core values, which is excellence. Everything we do, it's excellent. We don't half-ass anything. And then congruency is big. So, I'm never going to offer or tell my patients to do something that I don't personally do with me and my 2 daughters and my wife. And then another one is fun. And that's big, man, because if you think about it, we're so busy nowadays. Like the American lifestyle, we're just so busy. It's go, 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 no. How much can we get done? And nobody really stops to have fun unless they literally schedule it. And I know it sounds silly. So yeah, man, like I said earlier, there's always that next step. But really what it comes down to is I wholeheartedly believe that we all have a life purpose. And whatever your life purpose may be, you deserve the opportunity to serve it out to the best of your ability. And I mean, that's the congruency in my practice. That's why families come. That's why they bring their kids. That's why they bring their newborns. It's because they understand that your body can function at a level. So it'd be kind of rather silly to not allow for yourself to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I love it. Have fun, enjoy life, continue living, not just trying to get by. So, hey, Dr. Cotey, I appreciate you. Again, we've been listening to Dr. Cotey Jordan, and we appreciate you. Hopefully we can have you back another time as you start to grow this network of doctors and this migraine challenge that hopefully can come to a place near you if you're listening today. And we appreciate you.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To get this and other episodes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to newedgewellness.com or listen to the Happy Healthy Hormones with Dr. Chris podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher.